let's start, you know, getting the whole house in order, so to speak.
Getting life happening.
Right. Yeah. I mean, not much else has been going on to cause me consternation.
Consternation and, make you constantly work. I remember as a teenager, I was like the punk rock girl. I listened to
Yeah.
Riot Girl, but also like the Dead Kennedys and, Bad Religion. And I was a surfer and I'd be like out waxing my surfboard or like taking the wax off or doing whatever you do. Listen to punk rock in my garage on my boombox and being like, I wish I could fight Nazis every day. I hate Nazis. And, like Oscar Wilde says, when the gods truly wish to punish us, they grant us our dreams. And here we are, waking up every day to fight Nazis as best we can.
I just want to say for the audience that probably is just that image there is the most Southern California thing I've heard you ever say. It's like the only thing that would have been more sort of on point is if you were listening to Suicidal Tendencies.
Well, I did listen to Suicidal Tendencies
in your garage.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, I just want a Pepsi and I want to punch Nazis in the face.
I just wanted a Pepsi, Mom. That's all I wanted.
She would give it to me.
Give it to me. I haven't thought about that song in so long. But oh my gosh, the band that you probably don't know that's my hometown band is Nerf Herder, which also
I actually know Nerf Herder.
Yeah, well, okay. So I recently met the lead singer. Nice. Because he lives here now, and he's just the sweetest guy. And they're getting the band back together later this spring, and I will 100% be there. So
I had we had a little group, and we would go to like all these metal shows and sort of punk shows, and we would travel from East Tennessee to like God whatever. I've seen Danzig like multiple times.
Nice.
I saw the Danzig Misfits reunion. I saw him with Sam Hain reunion. I've seen Gwar. I've seen Killswitch Engage.
Gwar is a commitment, I would say. I've seen a lot of shows, but I would not go personally to a Gwar show. That's like, let's go to a horror movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I
let's be in a horror movie. Yeah.
So and me just being the low key, ironically smart ass guy that I was, everyone's like, oh, we're kind of dressed up, but we're like, blah. So people wore their shirts, their Gwar shirts. It's like, I went in khakis and an Eddie Bauer shirt to a Gwar show.
Okay. That could go like, one of two ways.
I know. I was just like, I was like, why are you doing that? It's like, oh, because I'm going to get in the pit. And
because I'm going to get in the pit. See, that's what I thought. I was like, you are either going to dominate or be totally squashed at the Gwar show.
I jumped in the pit. And for those of you who don't know about like the mosh pit, which was like a thing in the late 90s and some of the early 2000s. I don't know if they do it now. It's like,
I don't think so.
No, it was way too violent. And so like I got in the pit and it's like, normally it's like, if it's safer, they'll kind of all go one way. And
one way. Yeah.
It sort of turns into a circle. And then you've always got the ones that want to go against the grain, or just start throwing elbows and this and that. And there was one where this is only like 21-year-old Fred, who's like kickboxing and doing just like,
oh, okay.
Like just bound and determined to get CTE,
Yeah.
Like there was this other guy, I don't know what happened. It's like for a second we squared up and like two rams went boom, right? And it was one of those like shaking our heads and he stepped back, shook his head and he goes, gives me a nod and
keep going.
That was it.
I love it.
And I had this like golf ball size knot on my head the next day.
Okay, so two stories. I would do the mosh pit as well, but as like a 14-year-old girl. And I'm a small woman, and I was smaller. I was really small then. I was like 80 pounds or whatever, maybe 100.
Wow.
But I go to these punk shows, and it's Southern California, so they're all outdoors.
Yeah.
And so the mosh pits are huge. They're like, I don't know, 100 feet across. There's that many people. But because I'm so little, I am actually going under the radar. Like, I remember looking up and seeing everybody's, like everybody, all the dudes. And then every once in a while, some guy would notice me, but in like a really positive way, like not a creepy way, but like this little
Yeah.
this girl is in danger, and they would just lift me up and then crowd surf me out of the mosh pit, and then I would just like find my way back in. But I never got hurt. It's like it's a miracle. I have no idea. But then so I was at this other show, and it wasn't punk, but it was like a Beirut style band. I don't remember. It was back at Glasslands for anybody who remembers that venue in Bushwick, before Bushwick was boring.
Yeah.
Um, but the 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 trumpet player, whose name I remember is Rosie, because she was so cool. She was crowd surfing, but the crowd dropped her, and I saw her trumpet coming towards my head, and I remember thinking, "Oh shit, a trumpet." And then she got me right here with her trumpet, and I had 2 black eyes and just a huge, like, bruise, like hematoma on my forehead for weeks. And I showed up, I was, like, working in the arts, and I showed up at my super cool art job with, like, 2 black eyes. And they're like, "What happened to you?" I was like, "Glass lens." They're like, "Okay." But yeah, so
Oh
there's
yeah,
a
yeah, yeah. I we were in Philly and we were at the Franklin, and it was great because there was a local band called Mutoid Men and they played, and they did what was it's God, I can't remember his name, but he did this like, it's not unusual to be loved by anyone. Right. I'm trying to remember that artist's name. If
Burt
Chad,
Bacharach.
yeah, okay, yeah. So they did Burt Bacharach, right? But they meddled it, which is right. It's like and the singer, he starts out doing the Burt Bacharach,
Yeah.
and then he's like, "It's not unusual to be."
It's so good. I love that. I want
It was
that in my
great,
life right now.
and so we like this is what I love about Philly, and this is like always
Mm.
the Philly story I tell. So like I'd been out of Philly for like a year, and I went back, and we're staying downtown, and I'm getting ready to make a right on a right, like basically a one way only street. So I'm making a right, like and I've got the green light. This like deuce and a quarter, like 70s Cadillac comes flying through the red light, lays on the horn at me, even though I had the red light, right?
Right.
I look over, and in the back, where there's like a window, is a child who should be in a car seat, but is not in the car seat and is giving me the double guns. Not these, but the other ones.
Yeah.
And I was like so stunned. And then I went, I love being back in Philly.
I love it. I love it.
I like, because when I worked in Philly, it took me a while because I thought everybody was mad at me and I was like, this is the rudest city ever. And then, like, after 6 months, I started learning that's just how people talk.
It's how people show their love and affection.
Right. Where it's just like, what do you want? What are you doing? Like, and then I started talking like that. I remember when I got to Detroit
Yeah.
after 18 months in Philly, and I got 3, like, in the first month, I got 3 HR complaints
Oh my God.
because of tone,
Yeah.
and the Philly in me still hadn't left, right?
Right. You can take the boy out of Philly, but you can't take the
Right,
Philly out of the boy.
so here I am, I walk into, like, the break room, and there's all these, like, there's all these guys and some women who are working the ramp, and I said, "Hey, it's been brought to my attention that, some of you, you're upset with the way I speak and how I approach you." And I said, "There's a real easy fix to that. Do your job and you won't have to hear anything from me. If you got anything else, keep submitting them to HR. I love having a break." you know, Thank you.
Thank you. Great managerial skills, Fred. So, so wonderful. Soft touch.
But what was interesting, and again, and this was sort of the psychological kind of thing, was like individually, I did start to tone it down.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, all right, he's cool with me. So
Right. Oh,
like,
that's so funny.
but it's funny because I was like, I get out there and I said, aren't you all supposed to be tough in Detroit? You can't handle a little bit of Philly?
Oh,
What's going on? Like, what's happening?
yeah, I think every city has their form
Yeah.
of toughness, and I guess, like, when they rub up against each other, it doesn't go well. Like, I have,
No.
LA is okay, so my main experiences with large cities are New York and LA. And neither city, you could describe both cities as really nice. The people there
Yeah.
are really nice, and they are also total a-holes
Yes.
in different ways.
Yes.
But you can't, like, import your New Yorkness to LA. No one
No,
would
you
like.
can't.
And
You
the
can't.
the same is true of New York to LA. Like, it's just it's different. It's totally different worlds, and yet it's not like they're any more rude or any more nice. They're just nice and rude in different ways.
Yeah, I think the best thing I ever heard with Philly was it's like people don't trust you until you give them a reason to trust you, and then once they
Mm,
do, you're good. But it's very sort of like brat. It's very like the thing I always respected about Philly was, and I grew to really like kind of have a love for it, which was it's very direct,
mhm.
right? A Philly person is going to let you absolutely know to your face where you stand.
I do want to pivot real quick though, because of all the big cities that I've been thinking about the most, I've been thinking about Minneapolis right
What?
now.
What?
Well,
That?
I know,
What a coincidence! So am I.
right?
Wow.
I know, but it's like you go to Minneapolis and it's like, no, no, these people are nice. These
They
people are
are.
not rude. This is the nicest city in America. It's well established that they're, mild mannered Midwesterners. And yet they are showing up and turning out and not and being forthwith and direct in their language and their actions in a way that I would not ascribe to people in Minneapolis right off the bat in a way that is so amazing. I'm like, you guys are putting Philadelphians and New Yorkers to shame with your wonderful aggression.
Right. I think that's sort of the one thing that we have. Like, you hear this all the time. It's like, oh, what's going to bring us together as Americans? What's going to bring us together as Americans?
Yeah.
And honestly, it's where if whether it's LA or Houston or Minneapolis or Philly or New York or Miami, you don't screw with people where they live.
Yeah, that's
Like, especially in the US, like you're not gonna jackbooted Gestapo is not going to receive a warm welcome there, you
yeah.
know, and especially after you shoot a mother who's just literally just observing in like her car,
Mhm.
you know, 3 times in the face.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is, again, I go back to the story in Detroit, right? I worked in an environment on the ramp that was very sort of masculine oriented,
Mhm.
right? It's about as close to the military as you can get, but even more so because it's like there is no sort of like this weird military stuff that kind of keeps you from popping off. It's like in a lot of hubs, depending on where you work, if you're messed up, a crew chief's going to let you know. It doesn't matter if you're like the freaking CEO. I don't care,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
Because it's union, it's Teamster, it's in a lot of cities, it's like that. And so I've worked around people that were masculine presenting, that were like men and pretty tough women too.
Sure, sure.
Jonathan Ross is a freaking coward, and all these ICE are cowards,
Oh, yeah.
right? I mean, you guys are abducting people, 4, 6, one person at a gas pump
Mhm.
who's just going to work. Some poor guy that's just trying to pay his bills and support his family. You're throwing flashbangs into cars with kids. Like that kind of thing. And this is what I'm struggling with here, Lorissa, is like it evokes a rage in me where I literally just want to start beating people with a stick.
Yeah.
With that, and so that's why it's like I get what Tim Walz was trying to do, but when you're telling these people like, "Hey, go and lay down," otherwise, I'm like, dude, I want to. I literally want to deploy to Minneapolis and start like it's a mosh pit and punch ICE people in the face.
Right? Like,
You
okay.
know
So, remember when Punch a Nazi Day was like a nationally celebrated holiday? I
what?
remember that. That was
I
a
do too.
fun holiday.
That was a great holiday.
That was a great holiday. And I think, it's it nonviolence is an important movement, and it's important. It's a very important political strategy. But people also have to understand that self-defense is necessary a
Mhm.
lot of times, particularly when you have uh, jackbooted, federally deputized terrorists ripping mothers and children apart, literally shooting citizens, beating people after they have been handcuffed. There's a recent story came out where this young man, 16-year-old American citizen, was, put in a chokehold. They took his phone, they let him go. He used his, whatever, Apple Tracer to find the phone in a used electronic vending machine outside of an ICE detention facility because that ICE person, officer who had detained him had then turned a profit on the
Mhm.
loot that he had taken from his detainee. And, when we talk about law and order, you look at nations in which the police and the mob or organized crime work hand in hand. And speaking of Philadelphia and New York, that was the case there in the 20s and 30s to a large degree. But you look at Myanmar or Thailand, and this is sort of what ICE is doing.
Yeah.
They are organized crime that is federally deputized. And why is this not surprising to me? Because it's exact mirror of what the Trump regime is. It is organized crime. And so, of course, they would have a specific militia to enforce their rules on the American people.
Yeah. And I like a friend of mine told me a story about his friend who was a federal contractor, right? And he's Hispanic. He got picked up. This is in Northern Virginia.
Mm,
Um, so it's Nova, all the cities there, Gainesville, um, and so he gets picked up by ICE, and he's got passport. He's got all the stuff on him. They drive him around, grilling him, take his phone, and they took him out into the rural areas of the county and dumped him on a back road and took off. And he was about 15 miles from basically the nearest anything. So no cell phone. It's dark and it's at night. Dumps him, and so you're basically trying to you could get someone killed doing that.
absolutely.
Because think about you're 15 miles from the nearest anything, you know, and how many of us could just have to walk 15 miles if you had to? You're just, well, you got to walk it today, otherwise you're not. I mean, you could, but
15
you know,
miles a night, not everybody can.
no, and like the woman they pulled over, and was even going because I saw this on some article somebody wrote on one of these publications. Like, are liberal women just being too aggressive and combative? And the woman they showed was the one in Minneapolis that
Yep.
was trying to get to her doctor appointment, that was disabled, and basically had head trauma, and they pulled her out and locked her up, and then she suffered problems because again, she's trying to go to a doctor's appointment for a head condition.
Mhm.
And your article with that is like, are these ladies just being too darn aggressive and, advocating for their rights they should have constitutionally?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
and
of course, it's of course they're trying to do this because the fear of this administration and the movement it represents is that women no longer adhere to the patriarchal gender roles that have been ascribed to us for generations. And once we no longer feel constrained by those, then we are able to step into and understand the totality of our power, which is equal to men. If not, Fred, I love you dearly, but perhaps greater. Um, and that is a scary thought to the patriarchy writ large. And at this moment, right, where they are trying to put women back in this box so clearly, whether that's by, declaring that nursing is no longer a professional career, which needs to get more attention
Right.
for so many reasons. I mean, talk about worsening the healthcare crisis in this country, but they're doing it specifically to attack women because this is a way for women to gain economic independence and a path to the middle class. And then, the incidents that you just mentioned. And then also Fox News came out with this hilarious headline that I'm glad that is getting a lot of pushback, which is wine moms are the problem or whatever it is. Like saying that wine moms are impeding federal investigations and therefore committing a crime. Well, what's the problem with this? Let's unpack it. First of all, when you say wine moms, right, you are calling these women frivolous and privileged and that
Mhm.
they shouldn't be listened to. But the reality is that, and I'm not, this isn't a blanket statement, but the reality is that a good amount of white women are standing up and being in solidarity with other members of their community that don't look like them.
Yep.
And to the power structure that exists, nothing could be more dangerous because
Mhm.
it is, uh, you can rely on Black and brown women to vote more progressively. But once you force suburban moms over to the left, you're done. You're done. And so they want to discredit us. And then that's why the right flank of the fascist wing is trying to overturn the 19th Amendment because they see the writing on the wall that
Yep.
we're not going to keep voting for the power structure that demeans and oppresses us. That's just not happening for them.
No.
And again, that's why Trump is in his dementia mind rambling about canceling the midterms, which is, folks, not going to happen. But this is their last gasp of viability.
Yeah. I mean, I think they might try to do something with that, and it really depends. They might issue the Insurrection Act, and it really depends if governors and secretaries of state and are like go along with it.
Yeah.
Um, or they'll do like polling intimidation.
Yeah.
But I think by that point, because of what's going on in Minneapolis, we'll be prepared for it. Um, and it's interesting what you just said is because I wrote a piece on it, and that exact thing where basically by bringing up that Renee Nicole Good was a lesbian, or she was this, she was that, like they're having to try to find ways to take her whiteness from her. Because to
Mm,
your point, without white women, white supremacy fails.
yeah.
You can't get by on doing it anymore with just the majority of white men supporting it.
Mhm.
Once that's done, like once a majority of white women leave, that it's over. R
Not even a majority, right? This is why they're so scared. It's not a majority. It's
mm,
5%. If 5% of white women abandon that power structure would crumble. That's the razor's edge that they are walking. And they
mhm,
damn well know it, which is why they are undermining women's rights as fast as they can because they want to try and make sure that we no longer have political freedoms because they're
yes,
taking away our economic freedoms because it's not most. And people are often worried, and understandably so. How can we possibly combat, let alone defeat, this onslaught of fascism? They know what we often don't know, which is that they are in a far more precarious position
Mhm.
than we often ascribe to them. Like
Yeah.
they're it is a house of cards that is
Yes.
about to tumble. I guarantee you, if we can just move 5% of the population of this country,
Mhm.
that's it.
I mean, and it's not just that, it's the oligarchs, it's all of this stuff. It's because none of it is sustainable, and the hard part of it is you like and here's the thing with women or l is women have known what if they have lived in Roe v. Wade. They have
Mhm.
lived in
Yeah.
where they've been able to make their own choices economically, politically, and now you're asking them like, "No, we're gonna take all that from you." Right?
Yeah.
People get furious when they take away the McRib. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Imagine this. Like, it's like, "Oh, yeah, women, like, go back to your husband's beating you, and the only thing you can do is be, a housewife and a
Right.
mom, and that's it." You have no say in economics. You have no say in society. You at large, unless you badger your husband, right? You have no say in your like what you want to work or do or how you want to live, which is antithetical to the promise of America, even though the reality of America has been something completely different.
Of course.
But, I'm one of these people like, no, you guys really sold me on all this freedom and justice for all. I want that. Right.
You said. Where's
Yeah, this is
that?
what you sold me when I was a kid. That's what I want. I want freedom and justice for all. I want
Yeah.
everybody to be able to go out and, you know, without favor or fear of reprisal, just live their lives.
Yeah.
That's what I want. So I think you're right. I think because this whole Somali fraud thing, they're trying to create a Reichstag fire moment. They're trying to and it's constantly they're trying to shore up their base. It's like what I said with JD Vance being on the ticket.
Mhm.
You're doing that to shore up Ohio, which you should already have,
Yeah.
right? They're in a far like one, and the problem I think they're running into is where we ran into in 2024 was, yeah, Trump won, but it was because a large swath of the electorate just kind of tapped out.
Yeah.
Whereas now they're having no choice but to get engaged,
Right.
and because as I've said over the course of this week, what Renee Good in Minneapolis changed, there's no more middle ground.
Right.
Like, there's no more, "Well, I can see both sides." Both sides to what?
Yeah.
There's fascism and then resisting fascism. There's
Yeah.
anti-fascism and fascism. That's it,
Well,
you
and
know?
I forget who said it, but, I'll be curious to see if this changes, but they said Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries wanna be the leader of the Democratic Party. They don't wanna be the leader of the anti-fascist party. And I think that's really a great insight because they are great leaders of the Democratic Party insofar as the Democratic Party is a corporate entity clothed in
Yep.
guise of pseudo progressivism. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying there's no difference between the Republicans and the Democrats. There certainly are. And of course, I love Madam Vice President Harris, but she was representing a party that did not represent the people. And then so
Yep.
we wonder why people didn't vote. Well, we've been promised change, 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 change. It's going to get better for you. It's going to be easier for you since the Obama era,
Yeah.
right? Like that was supposed to be change. And, I know there's a lot of nuance around why it didn't change, and Mitch McConnell and so on and on and on. But change has to be, and we talk about this a lot, change has to be rapid and real. It cannot be incremental and favoring always the corporate oligarchs.
Yep.
If the whole Democratic Party hadn't been in favor of the corporate oligarchs, we wouldn't be in the situation that we are now, not
No.
just Trump in office, but also with, social media and tech bros literally stealing the imaginations and childhoods from our children, taking their capacity to think independently and imagine themselves as other than they are. Because to turn a profit, right? If the Democrats had been for the people, they would have said, "Wait, we need guardrails on this. We need to
Yeah.
understand what this technology does. There has to be ways to protect our children from these vampirous tech companies that only want to turn a profit regardless of whose lives they ruin, and on and on. And if we had that kind of change, if we had that kind of agenda, right, we wouldn't have an electorate that had turned off in 2024. And frankly, of course, I vote in every election because that's me. But I understand why people no longer believe that
Yeah.
their government can affect their lives. I think they're understanding now, right? This is my last thing, but I was thinking about this this morning. But government largely in American life has been invisible.
Mhm.
And the Trump regime is making it very visible what government can be at its worst. And we have yet to see what government can be at its best in
Yeah.
this generation. I think FDR and Eleanor Roosevelt provide a great example, but we have to return to that.
I think it even goes to jumping off your point. I think it's twofold, and it goes further. There's Trump making it worse, where it's visible, where you have the jackbooted thugs, you have government on your neck, but he's also in very real ways making it what happens when government is absent.
Yes.
ACA subsidies are leaving, all these rural healthcare programs, these infrastructure programs, all these things that government did. I mean, Heather Cox Richardson talked about it, where it was like everybody's in favor of cutting wasteful government spending.
Mhm.
But since the Clintons, Clinton administration, we cut it so much, there's nothing left really to cut. And so now when you cut something, it's like, oh, wait a minute. I actually use that. Like, I actually need that, right?
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example. Like just with the VA and the real stuff that come from. My sister is a disabled veteran,
Mm.
got a ruling from a judge where she gets an extra stipend, because they're like, yeah, you literally can't work, right? With your medical history, you cannot work, right? She can't get the VA just told her, yeah, you don't need therapy anymore. You don't you don't need any. So she gets for mental health from PTSD, all this other stuff that happened to her. She gets like Social Security disability, full VA benefits, plus a stipend from a judge, but she doesn't need therapy. My own therapy, right, is rationed. I've got 4 weeks on and 4 weeks off, because that's how they keep me in therapy, is because the mandate says, well, you only get so much per year. So you got to go 4 weeks on, 4 weeks off. Now, I'm pretty fortunate in my situation, but every time I go to the VA, there are veterans that live on the street. You know, there are veterans that really suffer, you know, but then they send out people like, oh, yeah, you could cure PTSD. I guess just do some pull ups in an airport, and then you'll be fine. Or we're seeing it with like Colorado has had the worst flu outbreak in 25 years, right? There, we are, we're seeing it with measles outbreaks breaking
Yeah.
out. We're seeing the absence of government.
Well, and I just want to pause real quick and go back to your point about veterans. First of all,
Yeah.
it incenses me to no end. My family has served in the military. I didn't serve in the military, but my, you know, grandfathers, both grandfathers and father and cousins have all served in the military. I'm a peace activist, but I have a deep and abiding respect for people in the military, and I do not understand why we cannot provide the people who have served and sacrificed for our country
Right.
with platinum plated, you know, buffet style healthcare. What? How is that a thing? How is that a question? How is that a fight? We asked you to risk your life, your mental health, your emotional well-being, and your physical abilities,
Yeah.
and you responded.
Hmm.
And our literal response is F me, F you. How,
Yeah.
and we talk about this is somewhat tangential, but when we abandon, which America has a history of abandoning its allies, whether that's, from the Laotian people in the Vietnam War to Afghanistan, we also abandon our vets. And that is not sustainable. And again, I know I'm like the female body politic, but I have a little crush on James Tillerico. out of Texas. I do. I'm a happily married woman, but he is just such a cutie. And he recently announced his anti-corruption platform and he said in his announcement, every time it gets worse for us, it gets better for billionaires. We can't afford to buy a home, they get a tax break. We can't afford healthcare, they get a tax break. We can't afford good public schools, they get a tax break. And you know, we have a corruption problem in this country. We have a political corruption problem in this country. The Trump administration is the outgrowth of that. It is a logical conclusion, but it is also a problem which we can solve. And, AOC and Jasmine Crockett and many others have also said this, but, you know, just ending the capacity for Congress people to trade stocks while Congress would be monumental in addressing this issue, because we don't have a country of for and by the people. We have a country of for and by the billionaires. And what does that sound exactly like? The American colonies under England.
Yeah.
No taxation without representation. That is exactly where we are. And I think all Americans, MAGA sort of excluded, but 70% of Americans can absolutely get on board with that message.
And the worst part of it all is they got to be billionaires from our tax dollars, and that not only that we gave them with just subsidies, like the politicians gave them, but also the infrastructure our tax dollars created throughout the decades. The internet, which was created by our tax dollars.
Roads.
Right? It's like, Obama he said it exactly right, and he got drugged for it. It's like, you didn't build that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
American tax money built that.
Yeah.
You didn't build those roads. You didn't build this infrastructure. Tech bros didn't build the internet and the information superhighway. Right? That started with CIA and defense, DARPA. That's where it started. It was from our tax dollars. And so, you know what, Trump, if you're going to say, well, American companies in Venezuela or companies in Venezuela that got nationalized and we owe that, it's like, you know what? I think that's a good point. I think that a lot of these social media companies and a lot of these tech companies that were built up on a system that originated with our tax dollars, the American people then have a right to nationalize those companies.
Exactly.
And take those back for the American people to pay down some of this debt that you all have racked up by not paying your taxes. Or you could pay your taxes for it and eventually pay us back. I'll take that too. But we cannot, the thing about it is you've gotten to a place where with these billionaires, it used to be like, hey, we better give them enough so they don't rise up. Right.
Right.
People talk about FDR as like, that's kind of what the New Deal was.
100%.
Yeah. If we don't do something for these 25% of people that are out of work and starving, it's going to go like Russia. It's going to go like these countries that are falling in Europe. We need to do something. Yeah. And we're getting to that place yet again.
Right.
And the billionaires are like, we don't need these people. We've got AI. We got all this. We're going to have robots. It's like, just, you might want to look at the numbers there, Chief. Maybe ask your AI, are there more of us or there more of... Yeah. ChatGPT, are there more of haves and versus have-nots?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like,
ChatGPT, what was the French Revolution? How did it end?
It's like, ChatGPT, how many searches have there been in the last 30 days of how to build a guillotine?
I know, right?
And it's the crazy thing is like, I was sort of the radical that moderated a lot of the way I talk when I became a political organizer. Because it's like, yo, man, you can't be dropping this socialist stuff on us. People ain't ready for that, bro. It's like, well, we're going to pass this legislation and hope ball forward. And really, it's just me going like, nah, we're going to talk about this. Like, it's like, I'm done. Like, you guys we tried hope and change with Obama. That didn't work.
Yeah.
Right? We tried Biden and going back to the institutionalists, which you should have locked Trump up.
Yep.
I think the silver lining in all this, honestly, is Trump has forced the mask to come off of the oligarchs.
Oh, 100%.
And
100%.
we're seeing them for who they are. Like, there's no mistaking it now,
Yeah.
right? You're not going to listen. Before it might have been some guy like me saying, "What's the oligarchy?" and blah blah blah. I was like, Christopher Hedges has a good point, and they're like, "Yeah, but I like Elizabeth Warren." So and now you're seeing it where it's like Chuck Schumer gets on Morning Joe and says, "Well, the thing with ICE in Minneapolis is a training issue." It's like it's not a training issue, bro. They're doing what fascists do. Like,
Yeah, they're well trained they're perfectly positioned and perfectly trained to be fascists. They're
it's not a
doing their
bug.
jobs expertly.
It's the brown shirts, man. It's not a bug. It's a feature,
When
right?
Okay, this is so tangential, but when are we gonna get rid of Chuck Schumer? Like, when is this gonna happen? I know people are like, "Oh, it's the worst job, blah, blah, blah." It's like, I'll take that job. Put me in the Senate. You don't have to be in the Senate to be the Senate leader, I think. I think that's the thing. But it's like,
It's the worst job. You have a staff, and you've got all these perks.
and you
You
have
know,
healthcare for life, a pension for life. Like, you, okay.
well, here's why all that's BS is Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump have shown us what's possible, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying we need to become like them and be dictatorial, right? But can you imagine like the support the Democratic Party would get if Chuck Schumer was like Mitch McConnell and he said, we are going to make Donald Trump's fascistic takeover a failure. That is our entire objective as the minority party in the Senate. We are going to filibuster every single piece that comes through here. Like, if he did what Mitch McConnell, we're going to hold up every judicial nominee.
Yeah.
We're going to hold everything up. Like, we're not saying yes to any cabinet secretary. We're not letting go of the filibuster. We're not doing anything. And if you try and mess with us, we're gonna do even more drastic measures. Right? I mean, the support for the Democratic Party would be
Through the roof.
through the roof.
Through the roof.
Through the roof.
And okay, I have to mention something else. My friend Paul Shattuck wrote this article that's getting a lot of traction, thank God. And okay, the Dems have everyone's phone numbers. I'm getting texts constantly from people I've never heard of, and they're always asking me for money. They're always saying,
Always.
"Oh, it's so hard. You got to give me money so I can do this thing." Give us some marching orders. What if the Democratic Party actually organized, actually had a plan, actually texted out their tens of millions, if not hundreds, 100 million Americans whose contacts they have
Yeah.
to say, this is what we're doing. This is how to show up. This is the number to call. This is the place to be. This is how we fight back. I don't want your money. I want your time. I want your enthusiasm. And I want your commitment to this country and democracy.
Yep.
What if that's what they did with our contacts? Could you imagine how this country, how this movement would change and be galvanized overnight?
What blows me away, right, is for people that seemingly want power. If you did that, the power you would have, you could go to corporations and say, listen, you're getting taxed this much, like it or not. It is what it is. Otherwise, we're going to unleash the American people on you.
Yeah.
We're literally the ones holding them back, right? You're going to pay your share. Deal with it. That's
Yeah.
it. We're taking apart the telecom companies and media companies. We're taking them apart. We're
Yeah.
getting rid of corporate consolidation. We're doing all this. And if you mess with us, like, it's going to go really bad for you. So I would just fall. I would just have the freedom to go play in the sandbox.
Right. I mean, you talk about people are worried about, if CBS is becoming Pravda, it's becoming, the mouthpiece of the right. Great. Let's get control of Congress in 2026. Let's revoke CBS's broadcast license because, as we said, their broadcast signal doesn't belong to them. It belongs to us.
Yes.
And we can have it back to do whatever we want. I say let's bring back community TV from the early 90s and just have everybody be able to have a show. Because you know what?
No.
We need CBS, and we certainly don't need them feeding the American public with pure propaganda about hate and fascism. So, yeah, the Democratic Party going back to Chuck Schumer and I mean, that is embarrassing that
Yeah.
he would say to
Yeah.
himself inside his little mind, let alone out loud on television, that the problem with ICE is training. I mean, Bill Kristol
Which is
said abolish ICE recently on
yeah,
X.
which is buzz speak for among Democrats. We're going to give them more money because you got to have money for training. Because what happened after George Floyd? All right, they gave police more money because oh well, you got to have training. It's like I don't know how you out train racism, bro.
Well, with with anti-racist training, but that's not where the money went to.
Right.
You know?
It's just that's and I think that's like the frustrating thing where we all find ourselves, but and here's where I'm hopeful is
Mm,
you can't fix a problem if you deny it's there.
yes.
And we have to face the fact is like you've got corporatists that
Mhm,
are running the Democratic Party and we've got fascism. What fixes that is accountability,
mhm.
right? And again, people are like, well, you're not going to vote for a Democrat. It's like, yeah, unfortunately, now I have to,
Right.
right? But I'm still going to demand for change. And I'm going to be like, we ought to have a constitutional convention where we can change where we can maybe have ranked choice voting. So I don't always have to vote for the Democrat.
Right.
Where
I could
it's,
vote for the Green Party, or I could vote for the Democratic Socialists, or I could vote for a reasonable, fiscally responsible Republican, which I would never do, obviously. But if one wants to vote for Republican but not a fascist, you also have that choice, which a lot of Republicans don't have. And
and,
that it's also disenfranchising to
and if we,
them.
and if we get ranked choice voting, that's going to get rid of the extremists.
Yes, that's right.
That will it will change our politics,
I totally
you
agree.
know, and I mean, we're getting close to the top of the hour.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, like you've been running around recently with your book, and you've got like all these things you're going on. Like, you're gonna be on C-SPAN tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I'm on C-SPAN, American History TV tomorrow. I'm like the political junkie and history nerd inside of me is just exploding. I have a watch party with my family planned.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So that'll be great. And then just a quick plug, if you don't mind. I'm at Godmother's, which is a lovely bookstore in Summerlin tonight with Jane Lynch, of course, in Glee and Murders Only. And if it's sold out, but you can watch it here on the Godmother's Substack live. And then I'm gonna be in New York and Boston and DC for Women's History Month, and also at the UVA Center for Politics with Tara Setmeyer. So I don't know if you're nearby, Fred, but if you can come to that, I would absolutely adore to
Wow.
give you a
Where are you gonna be? Where's this one? Is in
It's at the UVA. It's at University of Virginia Center for Politics.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no. I will be. I'm in Colorado, so
Oh, okay. I don't know.
I'm
I
look.
thought, yeah.
No, no.
Well,
I lived in Virginia for a little while. I've still got friends that organize in
that's why I thought.
Fairfax. Yeah, like I've got friends that organize in Fairfax, and or they used to. So, yeah. I mean, I got a lot of friends that work in the DoD or used to.
Used to. I know somebody
Some
at
got
DOD like connected with me on LinkedIn, and I was like, "Oh no, no, no! Do not connect with that person."
Who is this?
Oh, just somebody on LinkedIn, like the on it was actually like White House head of security, because I do have a lot of friends who are in the military, or who are in the defense industry. Like I adore the women's military monument, and I am, t- you know, connected with all those people and so on and so forth. A lot of women in peace and security. So I'm sure I just like popped up, but I was like, you don't know my politics. Not going to accept you.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like what is it that meme? It's like, hey man, you want to connect? It's like all right, man. If you, but if if we do, and you learn my politics, we're gonna have to get cool about a lot of stuff really
Real
fast.
fast.
Yeah, it's like, where is your politics now, Fred? F Whitey. That's where I'm at. Pretty much.
Pretty much.
Pretty much these days, it's like, you know, it's like where's your politics? I think, mom Mom Donnie's is a moderate. That's
Oh, he all wants to open up 5, free groceries or city-owned grocery stores. Like, I'm talking 20, like 50,
yeah, like
one in every neighborhood.
yeah, it's like where are you where it's like, what do you think about that, Fred? Is like, so there's this phrase called seize the means of production, it's like
Oh,
I'm
Brad. I love that we're circling back to my anarchist teenage years with the end of our conversation. I could not agree more.
yeah, it's funny because like there's an old Soviet joke that I used to when I was studying history. They said, "What's the difference between like like how like what? Here's the difference between an intellectual revolutionary and an actual revolutionary is like so an intellectual Marxist will write you a 30-page paper citing Marx and Lenin, you know, um, uh, a good Marxist revolutionary will pick up a gun. That's how a revolutionary ends an argument.
That is, yeah, definite.
I was like, yeah, you know, it's I said, well, what if you pick up a gun and you cite Kropotkin? Does that work?
Does that work?
Or is it just ironic?
I don't know. It sounds convincing.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
the joke that I turned into these days is like, I was like, billionaires, you don't have to worry about when they're quoting Marx. It's when the masses start quoting Lenin and the state revolution, then you have a problem.
Yeah, I mean, um, you quoted the phrase "seize the means of production," and I think there actually is some traction being gained on that, not from a sort of violent revolutionary standpoint, but you see more and more employee-owned businesses
Yeah,
becoming a model, and profit sharing, and
mhm,
people understanding that you don't have to have a top-down structure, and even
no,
like we're talking about unions, right? This is a adversarial model. You have workers and you have management, and the two have to basically fight to meet in the middle. And that doesn't have to be how we make things. We
right,
can have cooperative uh, systems of production
mhm,
based on consensus. We
yeah,
as human beings are actually capable of such things. And it turns out these are better for us. And I think it also goes back to, your mention of ranked choice voting. Politics does not have to be adversarial.
no,
We don't, that is in service of billionaires, and that is inherently anti-democratic. And it was the thinking of the founders, but we don't have to adhere to that. I mean, even they knew that they did not know everything, and therefore they wrote Article 15 into the Constitution, allowing us to amend it. And I think, the more we can amplify these alternative modes of being in the world, the better chance we have of coming out of this just disgusting moment. And I also think, and then I have to go, but we were talking about Russia, and it's always so interesting or fascinating to me how Russia went from uh, czarist to idealist revolutionaries to uh, dictatorship dictatorship oligarchy. Like, we missed that moment, right? The Russians missed that moment to continue the revolution.
yeah,
And I think we are at a moment, right, where people are waking up and seeing that things have to change. And we have to be very considerate about how we build systems that can perpetuate and propel that change past the moment, right? Because that's where so many revolutions fail, is what happens after. And that's, I think, where we are at the beginning of that turn.
Yeah, it's well, to the Russian thing, and you see this in China too, because there's an argument that really the Communist Party is just another dynasty. It's something my professor used to say. Um, you can change the name of the god on the temple, but it's hard to change the practice, and that's what
Right.
makes it so
Right.
powerful. Is you had Tsarist Russia, you go to like Marxist communism, which is sort of like a blueprint that's never been, tested in reality at that point. And what happens is Stalin, after Lenin seizes power, and Trotsky and the Mensheviks Trotsky gets a pickaxe to the back of the head in Mexico City, you know, and so like basically Putin is sort of just the party apparatus, the czarists, the powerful, the oligarchs that have taken it. It just the form just changed. That's all
Yeah.
it was. And where we're at is really what's coming done, I think, for us in this moment, and I'll let you go, is we are fighting to where we're at this nexus of, when I mentioned this, where it's like there's the aspirational America we want, freedom and justice for all, and then there's the reality of where we were. And so we're at this point of where we kind of have moved towards that aspirational, and they want to shove us back over here and worse. And we're like, no, we want to go this way.
Yeah.
So the reason this fight for us is going to be longer and kind of intense, but ultimately better, is we're fighting culturally. This isn't just about politics anymore. It's not about Democrat, Republican. This is about where do we want to go as a society and a culture.
That's right.
So with that, I'll leave you guys to it. Thanks again. We got to keep doing this.
I love it. I love Friday mornings with Fred. Let's make it a weekly thing. I love it.
That's absolutely, you might be too big for me at some point. I mean, you're going to be blowing up.
Not so, Fred. You are one of my earliest and most ardent supporters, and I have always appreciated you.
I'm so proud of you. Like, I'm just like, I see you're like, I'm going on C-SPAN doing this. I'm like, man, especially with the books you write, like when you put in all that work and you put it out, I love seeing folks like do the work, get their flowers. So I love that for you, man. That's so awesome.
Thank you so much. Till next Friday.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.